Here at Old Chicago, thanks for making this part of your evening as we got some games to break down. Aggie's back from Vegas and gets set for a trip later this week to Fresno, California, as down the home stretch we come to the Mountain West Conference schedule. 8 games left on the docket, and every one of them vitally important. And, you know, there's, Coach, by the way, first off, good to have you, good to catch up with you, and congratulations on that last win in Las Vegas.
Thank you. I bet you've enjoyed our little break. A little buffer zone. Hey, thank you everybody for coming out. How about them Aggies? We got a lot of Aggie student athletes back in that corner. Today is Monday, and as a part of our training table, all the student athletes at Utah State come into Old Chicago, pizza and tap room, and get plenty of pizza and other food, and they ignore the tap room part, hopefully.
Yes.
So, but it's exciting to see just driving up and walking in and seeing all the student athletes. It's a pretty cool deal. And you know, at Utah State, we try to give the best experience we can in every way, shape, and form. And nutrition's obviously a big part of what we do. So we're kicking off Monday the right way.
You've coached at the.
Did I answer that question?
Yeah, no, I don't even think I really asked you a question.
That's perfect.
But since we're there, let's talk about that. How different is the experience for a student athlete now as opposed to several years ago before the training table meals and the full cost of attendance and those things?
Well, there's just so many things that go into it. There's no doubt about it. You know, and things are going to keep changing here as we move forward, and we won't get that's like 5 episodes we could go through an hour talking about all that. But I mean, when you look at obviously a scholarship and tuition fees, room and board, books, then there's cost of attendance. So at every school, if you look at a website, it'll say, what's the cost of attendance? So that's stuff like, what does an average student pay to fill up their car with gas, or to get toilet paper, or toothbrush, or all the bare essentials that everybody, would like to have to survive, so to speak. So you have all that kind of stuff. But then when you just walk around our campus, and our campus really pops. Like, we have a beautiful campus, unbelievable facilities, and the Icon Center with strength and conditioning, and the nutrition piece that goes with it, and the mental health piece that goes into it. And I could just keep going right at the academic support system, the nutrition, you go right down the line. And hopefully, you spend all this money that you do, and the investment in terms of team travel, coaches' salaries, right on down the line. And so to be able to provide all of our student athletes with the first-class experience in every way, shape, and form, and help them become the best that they can be. It's really an exciting time.
So let's talk about the games. Split the 2 games in Las Vegas. Shooting woes really caught up with you in the second half, and then of the first game. And then in the second game, your team righted the ship and got a big W down against a really athletic, really talented Vegas team.
Yeah, the first game, it was a grueling 14-day stretch without a doubt, with 6 games in 14 days. And I thought those 4 games in 8 days, and it was just a grueling stretch with San Diego State, Colorado State, and of course UNLV, and that's college basketball, and you got to be able to figure it out, and be as fresh as you can mentally, physically, and as prepared as you can be, all those things. That first game, it was a bit of a tale of 2 halves. The first half, I didn't think we defended great. We had a lot of mental lapses. Moses Wood was an Aggie killer the first half of both games.
Yeah.
I think he had 10 the first half and didn't score the second half, and I think he had 9 in the first half of the second game, and I'm not sure he scored in the second half. But and then offensively, we were just a complete train wreck, quite frankly, and I needed to give those guys more structure. We had 17 turnovers, and we have that day in between games. This is the first time we've lost the front end of the 2 games. So it felt like we were in Las Vegas for about 2 weeks, to be honest. But the day between the games, we watched film like we always do, and we showed them some good things that we did, some teaching points that we got to do a better job of with some execution. And then we showed all 17 turnovers in a row, and we showed them all of our missed layups, which was a lot. And so, we just watching those, and it was just, I didn't say a word, none of the coaches said a word, none of the players, it was just stone cold quiet. And it was pretty, sometimes in life you need a piece of humble pie. And I think it was a bit of a piece of humble pie for us. I thought we had a great practice that day after that. And I thought we played really well, going, had a good mindset. going into that second game. But it's hard to win on the road, period. It's very difficult to win on the road when you don't eliminate losing. And when you have 17 turnovers and miss all those point-blank shots. And I just thought we got greedy and didn't take the best shots in the world and trust each other. You know, Mark Jackson, who used to play for the New York Knicks and I think the Indiana Pacers. I remember I had a picture of him on my whole wall when I was a kid. Was just all posters or like cutouts from Sports Illustrated or from the newspapers.
I did the same thing, yeah.
And you couldn't see the wall.
Yep.
It was just, right? And he had a quote, "You get me the ball and I'll get you the ball." And that was a phrase we used. Like, we have to be able to trust each other to share the ball. And I saw this quote last year, nothing divides a team more than bad shot selection, because now, Scotty, if you take a bad shot, now I don't know if I'm going to get the ball again, right? Now I take a bad shot, and now, you know, then Petey thinks he can take a bad one, and then right on down. Next thing you know, you're just chucking up terrible shots.
Because you don't know if you're getting the ball back if you pass it up.
Man, if I don't shoot it this time, I might not get it for 5 possessions.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're really sharing it and touching it and moving it, everybody knows they're going to touch the ball, and there's built-in trust that good things will happen, you know, from that respect. So that was a disappointing night. We played the second half. We were very, very good defensively. You know, we held them to, mid-20s or something like that. You know, how about this? Kyle Cottom's our sports information director. He does a great job for us. I asked if he could bring the stats over, and this is one of the pages he brought me.
It's actually the first game, too.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what this is, but we'll roll with it, I guess. So I'm not that talented.
He did drop those off and looked at it, goes, "Tell Coach I'm sorry," and then he got it.
Right. Yeah. Get out of jail card. But
yeah.
That's what it looks like from Monopoly. But we were able to bounce back and take care of business. You know, they have 3 guys. Like the Hamilton kid has a good chance to be playing at the next level. He was a top 30 scorer going into our series. And he didn't play last night against Nevada, which really hurts them because they don't play a lot of guys. They don't have a ton of depth. But they have two guards out there at any time that can go get 30 or more. And then you add in the Iowa State transfer, Caleb Grill, who can really shoot it. And we all saw he's got such a quick release. So they put a lot of pressure on you. But I thought we defended really well for the most part for both those games.
The mindset of a team, though, knowing that they've got about 6 days off in between that last game and then the game coming, actually almost a full week.
8 days.
8 days, yeah. So you've got 8 days off between that grueling stretch and then hitting the road to take on Fresno State. Do you treat them a little differently than maybe you would, knowing that you're nearing the end of the season or in the stretch run of the season?
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. You know, we played San Diego State twice and Colorado State twice. So we had those 4 games in that 8-day span.
Yeah.
And now you just fast forward, 10 days later, we don't have a game in that 8-day span. And it's really kind of an interesting deal. But we were really I felt like we were really beat up, especially our guys that have played higher minutes. And I just felt like, in particular, our younger guys were just needed a kind of a mental break. Now, Stephen Ashworth, Raleigh Wooster, Max Sugar, those guys live in the gym. So, I went to Raleigh and it's like, you need to take 1 day away. Do not go in the gym. Now, I'm guessing he snuck in there.
Yeah.
But you just, now you get to the dog days, February 1st today, and now it's the home stretch. And a lot of times at this time of year, you have teams that can't wait to be in the gym. You have some teams that are kind of like, and then you have some teams that just can't wait to be done. And we've always prided ourselves in being that team that, hopefully we're hitting our stride and we can finish this regular season with a flourish and have a lot of momentum going into the Mountain West Conference tournament.
That's segment 1 with Coach Craig Smith as we're live here at Old Chicago. I'd love for you to come by and hang out with us. We will be here until 7 o'clock. We're also going to chat with Liam McChesney coming up a little bit later on in the program as well. Hey, Aggie fans, does your game room need an update? Fisher Home Furnishings has you covered. Visit FisherHF.com to enter your chance to win a framed USU photo, tickets to an upcoming game, and $500 to Fisher Home Furnishings. Again, FisherHF.com. We continue on more with Craig Smith, head coach of the Utah State basketball team from Learfield IMG College.
From humble beginnings in 1952, Staker Parson Materials and Construction has grown to become one of Utah's leading building materials businesses and the preferred source for quality sand, rock, landscape products, ready-mix concrete, asphalt, paving, and construction services. Being the preferred source means safely building projects with the highest quality. It means presenting the best opportunities for our employees and offering timely delivery and exceptional customer service every time. Being the preferred source also means supporting and building our communities and local economies. You see us every year at Peach Days and at other local events. We help your children learn about our industry with our Rocks Build Our World program. We've supplied the materials and built many of the streets in town and have donated concrete to your favorite recreational spots. We are Staker Parson Materials and Construction, and we are proud to be part of our community.
On back, you're listening to the Craig Smith Coaches Show. We're live here at Old Chicago. Come by, hang out with us. Also, big thanks to everyone who's hanging out with us on our Facebook, on Facebook Live, on the Utah State Athletic Facebook page. All right, so we continue to get you ready for a couple games this week as Utah State taking on Fresno State and heading down to Fresno to take on the Bulldogs, a team that, again, a lot like UNLV, you can tell there's a lot of athleticism when you watch this team on tape.
Well, they are. They're athletic, and they've been affected. They're athletic 1 through 5. They'll play a couple 7-footers together. Orlando Robinson is a really, really good player who is just 7 foot. He's listed at 7 foot. He can play the 4 or the 5. He can score with his back to the basket. He can make a 3, and everything in between. They run a lot of ISOs for him from the elbow area, top of the key area, and then, you know, those guys. They played, 2 games going into their first league game in late December.
Yeah.
They had 5 or 6 non-conference games canceled. They've been stopped 3 different times with everything. And so they got a little bit of a late start, and they got a lot of new faces on their team. So I do feel like they're playing their best basketball right now. They're 7-1 at home, I believe. And so they put you in some tough spots because of the versatility with Robinson. And now they're starting to shorten their lineups a bit, which I think has really helped them out. They like to press. They'll play almost all man. And then we're going to see a bunch of ball screens from every which way and a lot of different post touches into both of those 7-footers. You know, it's a team that has shown that, I mean, statistically, they haven't shot the 3-ball really well, but it's almost a team that still takes a lot of threes, and you think that they're any game they could break out and start knocking down a bunch of those. Well, they do. They haven't, knock on wood, they haven't consistently shot it from there or the free throw line. They do get fouled, but they've struggled at the line. They're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in our league, and thankfully for us, we've been able to neutralize teams like that, generally speaking, in terms of the glass. But, you know, there's a couple guys. This will be a big game because they do play a lot of guys, and even from game to game, obviously, you have your certain guys that are going to play no matter what, but there will be guys that will play 25 minutes in one game and then see the floor for 7 minutes the next. And so they're a little bit just searching for who they are and what they are. And so that can be difficult to prepare for. So knowing personnel will be big. We go into every game with a scouting report, whether it's 8 guys, 9 guys, 10 guys. This game will be 12 guys for sure. And we just got to know, are they a shooter? Are they a driver? Are they a slasher? Are they an offensive rebound? Like, what are they? And then we got to be on point with guarding personnel. And we struggle with that early in the year. I think that's one of the biggest reasons we've kind of been playing we had was our guys are learning how to do that now consistently and taking away each individual player's strengths.
By my count, and so take that with a grain of salt because my math can get off a little bit. But there's been 10.
It's a lot better than mine, trust me.
There have been 10 guys that have been in a starting lineup this year for this team.
So I believe that. And if I'm looking at your play sheet, well, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 14 guys on it. Look at this thing. I mean, it's like borderline an artist. Like it's kind of like, so. But yeah, he has got 14 guys down on his play sheet, and that tells you all you need to know. And so our guys got to be ready for all those guys because literally at any point, any of those guys will play and play a lot depending on the game and who's playing well for them.
How difficult is that to prepare when you're putting something together like that?
Well, it just makes you a little uneasy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and it works both ways. Like if you know who you're, like last year we essentially played 8 guys.
Yeah.
So our opponents knew these are the 8 that are going to play, and that's kind of what it was. Our first year was probably a lot harder to prepare for us because for a long time we were playing 11 guys. And depending on the night is kind of, and then obviously as the year went on, we shrunk that down. But it makes you a little bit uneasy because it is, you just never know, with the exception of a few of those guys are going to play a lot. But other than that, it's just hard to know exactly what, they're going to do that way. But there's a lot of ways to look at that.
You really, in that second half of that game against UNLV, the second game, you really tightened up. I think Fonz was the only guy off the bench that saw time there in that second half. Was that based on the game, based that you had 8 days coming up, off? I guess probably a multiple of different things.
It was both. Fonz, we played both. We played Trevin and Fonz. Nimi, we thought got his 3rd foul on that one. They gave it to, I forget who they gave it to. So we took him out, and then they subbed out their big guy, and so we gave Nimi a good 4-minute break there, which I thought helped him kind of reset. But that was more of a feel thing. You don't necessarily make those decisions beforehand. You just kind of see how things are going. And it just got to the point where I just felt like our 3 guards, we got in a good groove. I mean, Wooster probably had his best game of his young career, and Marco really got it going in that second half. And those 2 guys, and then you had Brock, and Brock was, I think, 5 for 9 from the field. But those 3 guys are defending at a high level. And so when you have Hamilton and Jenkins and Caleb Grill out there, I thought those guys were clearly our best 3 guys to be able to shut those guys down. And they were really succinct on the offensive end, not turning it over and just sharing it and making great decisions. So knowing that we had the bye week coming up, we just said we're rolling with it. And it wasn't a very high-paced game. It wasn't like a up-and-down game. Yeah. It felt like there was a lot of interruptions. So we knew they could make it.
If I were not to watch a game of yours.
Is that a double negative?
If I were not to watch a game. Let's say if I did.
That's not a double negative.
I'm
not good at English.
No, neither am I. And I get paid for this for a living. Go figure. If I were to not watch a game and I were to look at a stat sheet without seeing a score, I have a pretty good vibe how your team plays based on your assist to made field goal ratio.
Yeah.
And I could probably see, and I could probably go on a limb and say you may have probably won or lost that game based on that number. Would I be off base on that?
No, I think you're right on. I mean, that's the thing. You are what you emphasize. We emphasize this a lot. Sometimes, you get to January 26th, and it can go in one year and right out the other year.
Yeah.
And so you got to be able to deliver it in different ways. You got to, as a coach, change the stimulus at this time of year a bit with new drills or different things, but accomplishing the same thing. But if you were to look at a box score and how we do, I think that's definitely one of the stats that is going to be glaring because of our style of play on the offensive end. We recruit to skill. Maybe we're not as athletic 1 through 12 as some of the other teams in our league, but the ball has got to be our athleticism, meaning the ball is what creates the advantage, right? And so that's how we recruit guys. That's our style. Guys that have a feel for the game, know how to play, can shoot the 3, got good pull-ups, can get to the rim, get fouled, but then they can make a decision, right? Drawing and kicking it, drawing and dumping it down, throwing an alley-oop to Nimi or whatever it might be. And so with more freedom comes more responsibility. So we try to recruit guys that can do all those different things. And we always say with recruiting, there's guys that are going to kill. They're going to do great with us that might struggle with New Mexico or Fresno. But then they have guys that might be unbelievable for them, but they would struggle for us. So much of sports, specifically basketball, comes down to your style of play and how do you fit that style of play.
I was you had an interview with our the Big Show on our flagship station down in Salt Lake City, and you brought up a point that.
Did you forget their names?
Jake and Gordon.
Oh, okay, I was just checking.
By the way, really interesting beginning to that interview too.
It's great. It was spot on.
Yeah, but with that said, you mentioned that early in the season, after the 1-2 start, that you kind of pulled back a lot and said, all right, let's really simplify things. Maybe we're running too much stuff. As the season has gone on, have you kind of opened things back up a little bit in that regard?
Yes, but very a lot of thought before we do it. You know, it was exciting because even in that second half of the second game specifically, we had talked about doing something in between games as an adjustment, but we had never done it. And it wasn't like a major deal. But Jenkins started going crazy on us, and Grills started getting some clean looks on us. So we made an adjustment on the fly, and Raleigh did a really good job. We got called for a foul one time, but watching the video, clearly wasn't a foul. But our guys adjusted on the fly with that, and that's the thing. They're starting to. I think a big part of it is understanding terminology. And, you know, it used to be they have to think what everything meant, let alone going and executing it. So we pulled back so much of our scheme on both sides, but it helped us in a big way because we just played aggressive and on attack and used our instincts. But now we're starting to slowly add some different things, offensively, defensively. We've been able to slowly add a few new sets, and it's been exciting to see. Now we have our bye week, and we had 2 really good practices the last 2 days, and you iron sharpens iron. So we're sharpening the iron. We've been able to add a couple new things without going crazy, and then just kind of refresh on some of the stuff that we haven't done for a while, without giving them too much info, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. One thing I want to touch on, we'll get to that next, is this: you have not played a road game in front of fans all season long. However, those 2 games in Vegas felt a little different. I want to touch on that coming up next. Also, your questions as well. We'll have a conversation with Liam McChesney coming up straight ahead. You're listening to the Aggie Coaches Show with Craig Smith from Learfield IMG College.
Staker Parson Companies has built a preferred source for sand, rock, and landscape products, ready-mix concrete, asphalt, paving, and construction services in your community for over 65 years. From the parks you play in to the roads you drive on, you can count on the Staker Parson team to deliver quality products and projects safely, timely, and efficiently.
For more information or career opportunities, visit stakerparson.com.
You're listening to the Craig Smith Coaches Show from Learfield IMG College. Well, I tell you what, that was, I don't know if you can tell that story on there, but that's a great story.
About Diogo?
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell that story.
Oh, that is awesome.
So we were just talking, because obviously Liam McChesney's coming up here, and Liam, we'll talk more about him. But, your relationship with your players each relationship is similar in the team concept, but it's so different individually. And of course, each guy has their own personality, and there's certain things that you hit off. And after we beat San Diego State on Thursday, Diogo sends me a text, and he goes, "Don't want to be that guy, but had to say this. When they run those screens for Shackle, I say we should stunt more from the passer as the ball is in the air." Okay, I promise. I won't be that fan, Coach. And then and he was right, and we told our guys that. He was right on. And then Tuesday, after we lost to Tuesday night, after we lost to UNLV, he sends a text: "Keep pushing, keep believing. It's in the losses that championship teams are made from." And
I miss that dude.
And he's right in a lot of ways. I mean, although I'd like to think it's over wins, but it's in those tough losses that you really, really find out what kind of team you have.
Yeah.
Like, do we have grit and toughness, or do we have the loser's limp? Are we going to come back better than ever? Are we going to take it personally? You remember I purposely brought Diogo to this show after a very difficult loss, and I think it was at Air Force, and he texted me after. He's like, "Coach, that was really heavy. I wasn't expecting that." And I'm like, "Well, we better get our bleep
stuff
together real quick." And sometimes they need to feel that part of it too.
Yeah.
Because we are playing for our team and ourselves, but we're also here to play for a community and be in our university, and we're proud of that.
Joining us now, Liam McChesney, kind enough to carve out a few moments for us right here on the Coaches Show. Liam, how you doing?
Scotty, how are we doing? Thanks for having me.
Excited to chat with you and get your thoughts on essentially what this has been for you. I know you're dealing with some injuries. Kind of tell us where you're at right now and where your mindset is dealing with some of these things.
Yeah, there's definitely been some lows in the road. As you know, I broke my ankle a couple of weeks ago, but it's getting better. I've gotten to the point where I can take my boot off and walk around with no pain. But I'm just thankful to be in my position. The resources at Utah State and that are available to me are just great, and I hope to be on the court soon.
How is it difficult keeping a positive attitude through this? Because you always seem like you're a positive guy. What's your mindset like in making sure that you have your mind's right during some of this stuff?
Definitely just putting the team first. It's definitely not all about me. Having coach and the team all together is just super important for our season this year and for me mentally. And no, it's been all right, and I've been able to stay positive through it.
Coach, how do you work with a player that's dealing with injuries? You still have to focus on the team and things like that, but you also want to keep a player engaged. How do you walk that line?
Yeah, that can be tough. Obviously Liam's a really talented young man. He came to school here as a 17-year-old and in a whole new country and all that kind of stuff. And so he redshirted last year, and then this summer I thought he had a good summer. And even Sam, and I told Liam this in one of our meetings, Sam came to me. He was here, but obviously before he left and before the draft. And Liam had gotten hurt. Can't remember what it was. And he was in the locker room, and he was, expressing some emotion, and not emotion like punching things or kicking things, but just,
Yeah.
And Sam came out and was like, man, Liam is really struggling in there and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, I've seen a lot of growth out of Liam over the last year. And so he was really knocking on the door, and he was about, quite frankly, to be getting some playing time because he had been practicing so well and so hard and making a real impact on the floor. And it was, Liam, correct me if I'm wrong, it was right after our shutdown, wasn't it? When the team got shut down because of COVID. Yeah, I think it was our first team practice back. and just kind of landed funny going for a rebound, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's really, really difficult on a guy. You know, he's struggled a bit with some injuries that are completely out of his control. It's not like he could have stretched more or done, you know, it's just one of those things. And I think he'll be stronger for it. But he's got an unbelievably bright future. You just got to stay engaged, you know, with everything. And him and I are going to have a meeting tomorrow before practice, and we're going to talk about a few different things. But he's got a bright future, and Aggie fans are going to love watching him play.
Liam, describe your game for people that haven't been able to go to practices and see what you bring to the table. What do you feel like your skill set lends itself to?
Well, I just say I'm a long guard that likes to shoot the basketball. Definitely getting after the offensive rebound. Like, coaches emphasize that for me, and I think that's like helped me develop as a player so much. And I just hope to keep getting better.
You know, the thing that really jumped out to me, and again, you've forgotten more of basketball than I'll ever know, but he's a guy that really seems like he can get his shot off in a phone booth. You know, doesn't need a lot of space to get that shot off.
No, I mean, people forget that, you know, he's a legitimate 6'10". Well, probably 6'9". I'm not in meters, Liam.
6'9.5".
We'll
6'9.5".
We'll round up.
6'9.5". So, but he's legit. He's all of that, and he's very, very long. So he's got great ball skills. He can go to his left, go to his right. He can get to a pull-up either hand, and he can just, and he's a good passer. Like, he just passes over the defense. Obviously, that's been an adjustment. You know, Liam put up just gaudy numbers his senior year in high school, almost a triple-double. Is that right, Liam?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. Don't pretend like you don't know exactly what those numbers are. but he can do so many different things, and you forget how long and tall he is. So his ability to shoot it, and he can get it going, his ability to pass, and then he's a guy that should be able to get double-digit rebounds from the perimeter. He has so much versatility. He'll provide so much versatility for the Aggies. So, but there's a big adjustment when you're moving from Prince Rupert to, you know, to here, and the style of play is different. He's used to having the ball in his hands all the time, and then of course the level of play. And so I thought he's really was finding his way in a major way, and then this injury happened. So he'll bounce back. He's got to keep getting bigger, faster, and stronger. But there's no doubt he will.
Liam, obviously, you had a tremendous career in high school. What was it about Utah State that said that's where I want to go play my college basketball?
During my recruitment process, why I picked here was honestly a lot because of Coach Smith, and when I came here, I just felt like he really believed in me out of all the other coaches. I still feel that, and what really stuck out to him about the other coaches was when I left on the day of my visit. The guy wrote me a book with how many pages was it, Coach?
Too many to count. I can't count that high, Liam.
Too many to count. But I was reading that on the plane, and it honestly brought tears to my parents' eyes, and that was just real special to me, and definitely just impacted me on coming here for sure.
Wow. So let's talk about Liam McChesney off the court. I've heard some rumors about your music of choice. Are you a Neil Diamond fan?
I am a Neil Diamond fan. I'm kind of an everything fan. You know what I mean? 80s, country, obviously hip hop, but you gotta love the classics.
You know, I host a sports radio show in Salt Lake. That's my day job, and my co-host is a former NFL player, played for the Colts, big, strong. I mean, Coach, you've met him a few times. He loves Neil Diamond. I mean, an unhealthy obsession with Neil Diamond. So I'm telling you, the kid, it's coming back. Maybe the kids like it these days.
It is, for sure, 100%.
I know our guys liked it about 2 years ago.
Yeah, they did. One song in particular.
Exactly. So,
are you still able to play ping pong a little bit? And do you think you could take anybody on the team in ping pong?
I heard there's a few guys that are pretty good. I heard Bean and Brock got it pretty good, but I haven't really been able to play them, just because we're just trying to keep it safe and do all that good stuff. But I've actually been I got a guitar for Christmas, and that's been kind of the highlight of what I've been doing at home. Just strumming the guitar. Yeah, that's been great.
Hey, Liam, when you guys go for a walk. So Liam is from Prince Rupert, Canada, and I had the pleasure of going up to visit with him, and his parents took me all over the community, and it was fantastic. Liam was a phenomenal swimmer, right, Liam? You still don't you still? They showed me all the records in Prince Rupert.
Oh, yeah.
He's got them all.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, I can just see Liam doing the Michael Phelps with the slaps, with the arms when he makes that noise. But and they live on Liam. What's that? So when you land in Prince Rupert, you land at the airport, and then you gotta get out of the airport. It's a small airport.
You gotta take a ferry. So, yeah.
You gotta.
So you land at Digby Island, and then you hop on a bus from the airport, and you drive about 5 minutes, and you get down to this ferry, and you ride down onto this boat, and you take the boat across the harbor to Prince Rupert. I recommend it, Scotty.
I'm down. I'm down for sure.
When you're driving that bus to the what do you call it? What's that body of water called?
The harbor?
The harbor. Thank you. I couldn't figure. Yeah, thank you, harbor. And so, but you're like driving through the jungle. I mean, it's like the most lush. And I went there in October, but it's lush, kind of like a rainforest, a little bit. Like I was telling, and it's close, somewhat close to Alaska. And then you go on that harbor, and you said there's killer whales in there at times. Is that true?
Yeah.
Correct. It sounds like the coolest place on the planet here.
It's amazing. And then they have a house. Their house overlooks the harbor, and it's just an incredible view. And it's pretty cool. And then Liam will go for walks. And every time you go for not walks in town, but when you go hiking, he always has to bring bear spray with. He's like, oh, yeah, we saw a couple bears. Like, he just says it so nonchalantly, and I'm just like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And we're not talking just black bears. Like, they have all the bears, if you know what I'm saying. Is that right, Liam?
Oh, yeah, the big grizzlies. You got to watch out for them, but...
Oh, man, we got to do this more often. Liam, this is great, man. We appreciate you calling in. Hey, best of luck. Let's get you back out on the court. Can't wait to see you out there, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Scotty.
Liam McChesney, that's a good dude right there.
Oh, he's awesome. Liam is, he is, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Scotty.
Yeah.
I love the accent. And we can all, that's what's fun when you have a close team. We can all make fun of each other in a respectful manner where we all can laugh about it, and he comes from a wonderful family, and he's such a great person. And he's been a little bit snake-bitten here with some of those things, but you can really, his maturity level, and don't read into that the wrong way. It's just and he is just grown. You can just, it's just so proud of him in how far that he has come, and I can't wait to get him on the floor. And like we said, just got to stay healthy and do things that way. But he's got a bright, bright future. People forget. Not that we're all in the stars, 5 stars, 3-star. He's a 4-star recruit now.
Yeah.
It was us in Minnesota, and then K-State tried to get in there on him late, but it was too late. So, he's a highly touted guy, and he's going to be very good.
Take our final break, come back. All of you out there tired of me asking questions, I know Coach is. You can ask a question to Coach coming up next. It's your turn to pick the brain of Coach Craig Smith next from Learfield IMG College.
Staker Parson Companies has built a preferred source for sand, rock, and landscape products, ready-mix concrete, asphalt, paving, and construction services in your community for over 65 years. From the parks you play in to the roads you drive on, you can count on the Staker Parson team to deliver quality products and projects safely, timely, and efficiently.
For more information or career opportunities, visit stakerparson.com.
Go as we count you down to tip-off. Utah State taking on Fresno State. A lot of really great games with the Bulldogs throughout your couple of years. Those the first year where tough loss here in Logan, you go down, you win a tough game in Fresno, and then you win going away in the NCAA tournament or in the Mountain West Conference tournament. You've had a lot of great history with these guys, even in a quick 2.5 years.
Oh man, we've had some great battles, and like you touched on, our first one, it was our third game in Mountain West play. We had just gotten spanked at Nevada, then we beat Air Force pretty handily at home. And I'll never forget this, doing the post-game radio show with you, and I can get a little emotional. And we had a great crowd that night, and we led the whole game, and we missed a big free throw, and give them credit. I mean, they just throw in 2 threes at the end, and one was a total kind of prayer. But you just felt like all the time we had talked about getting the Spectrum Magic back, and you work, and it was almost a full house, and just was in my mind, just like our guys have worked so hard to this point. Like I hope they keep coming back. And I kind of got emotional because I felt like we kind of let a great opportunity slip away. And then we went on to beat, Wyoming, San Jose, and then we went on a big run, beat New Mexico and on that last second shot. And then at their place, had a heck of a game. I mean, it was down to the wire. They finished third that year all by themselves, and they were good. And we're up 1, and shot clock's running. We're running the clock down. We're running all the way down. We're going to be able to leave about 10 seconds left of the game, and we run a play kind of for Sam on a ball screen, and Quinn Taylor's the lift guy, and we throw it back, and Quinn Taylor just steps into that baby and drills it. And we go up 4. Now I think they made a 3 right after that. I think Braxton did, but we were able to finish that game out. And that was a heck of a win for us.
Yeah.
And then, it was one of those almost perfect storms in that conference tournament. We barely beat New Mexico. And then I just felt like our guys just played so free. We knew we were in the NCAA tournament. And it was one of those games we just couldn't. I'm not sure it mattered who we were going to play that night, and we just took care of business. But then again, last year, Nemi's first game back, and they played out of their minds, and they threw in some threes late. And what did we win in double overtime, or maybe it was single overtime? But the lefty, I think he had 27 that game, and he makes one at the buzzer basically to force the overtime, and he almost throws in another one at the end. And then we had another close game up there, and we were able to kind of stretch it to 8 or so with about 2 to play. So we've had some great games against these guys, and I'm sure it'll continue.
All right, your time to ask questions, and I think we have a young man over here that'd like to quiz you. Here, I'll get out of the way here.
All right, that's a sweet hat he's got on. I think he's got a championship hat from one of the last 2 years. I can't figure out which year, but I think it might be last year.
Go ahead. Oh, there we go. Now we got you. Yep, we got you.
I've never seen Aggie move so fast.
That's good.
That was quick, Aggie. It looked like a shortstop. Second baseman. Sorry. Well, I'm going to give you 2 things, offense and defense. That is a great question. I think we got to keep getting consistency off of our bench. I think that's a big thing. And, how do you work on that? There's a few ways to go about that, but we got to keep getting production that way. And then, I love how we're playing on the defensive end. We still got to tighten some things up when things go awry for us, but just staying connected on that end. And then offensively, just with our style and still, I know we're only, we got a month to go, 4 home series, but still continually get better with simple things like feeding the post consistently, finishing on a consistent basis around the basket, really tightening up our decision making, which leads into not turning it over so much. So whether it's decision making, concentration, right? Keeping the game simple, and some of that is me. I got to recognize when we're struggling from that respect to really pulling the reins back and running more sets or running more continuities so they have more structure and know what exactly they need to do. I struggle with that because I'm just a big believer that players make plays, and our guys know the more freedom you get, the more responsibility you have. But, when you think at the end of the year, both of our championship games against San Diego State, They struggle to score on their sets against us. We struggle to score on our sets against them, and we both have really good stuff that we run. It's just when you play great defensive teams, it's hard to score on those. So you got to be good when you're free-flowing and when you're in your motion, and we got to tighten those areas up to get to where we want to go.
Great question. Again, if you've got one for Coach, raise your hand, and we'll let your voice be heard. I got one coming in on Twitter. Love watching the Ashworth to Cada alley-oops. Are those play calls that you call in from the sideline, or is it something that they see out on the court?
Those are play calls. It's based on how they're guarding us, and that's an action that we like to run. It's been very, very good for us. We have a few things that we kind of run out of that. And so if teams are choosing now to kind of, I'd like to say, like, load up on us. So if they're going to load up to the ball side, we got to be able to, use that threat and just throw right over the top of that. And if you make a good pass, that's almost unguardable.
Yeah.
In that respect. So that's something we've added to our play package this year. It just happens to be both times it was Steven, our point guard, almost always runs, is the post feed guy in that position. So that's something that we are definitely able to do more of. Not that we throw a ton of alley-oops, but I think as a whole, we have better individual passers from the guard position to be able to make those plays.
And not, you go ahead. I'm sorry. Your question is far better than mine.
It was unstoppable, pretty much. Yes, he does. That's a great question, and he obviously, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. On a side note, I was a Laker fan growing up, but I always feel like he's the guy that's left out of the conversation, like on the greatest players of all time. Like, that guy was unbelievable, and whether it was his stats, whether it was his win. I mean, he won how many championships? Like, you can't
even one in Milwaukee.
That's what I'm saying. He won one in Milwaukee. Well, that was Lou Alcindor, but anyway, but he was so good, and his shot was incredible. You couldn't stop it, and everybody knew it. Everyone knew what was coming, and he still was able to score. And I've actually thought it's ironic that you asked that question. I've thought about that a lot with Cada, and I don't look like it, but I was always a big guy. For a lot of my assistant coaching career, I coached the big guys, and so it is more of a finesse shot. I don't know, with some of the physicality, in the 80s and the 70s, you just go back and watch those games, it was just different. It wasn't nearly the physicality as it is now. And this year I feel like they're not calling as much as maybe they have in years past. I think maybe some of that is without the preseason, but we were actually tinkering with that a little bit over the summer, and he was doing some of that. It is a hard shot. He made it look really easy. And so much, I think, of finishing, I talked earlier about we got to consistently finish better, is playing off of 2 feet. When you get bumped and you're playing off of 2 feet, you can absorb the blow if they're not going to call the foul. When you're off 1 foot, it's quicker, but I'm not sure it's quite as accurate. And if you get bumped, now it's really hard to recover. So there's a lot of things that go into that. We'll see what happens here with him over the next 3 months or 4 months. That stuff will take care of itself, whether with his future and what he does. But that's something that we would look at, certainly. But it is a hard shot that he made look really easy. Magic Johnson learned it from Kareem. Yeah. And he got that thing down. Made a game-winning shot, I think, in Game 4 and whatever year it was, probably 1985, to clinch that game. But I love that shot. I think it's a great shot. He's done a heck of a job, though, improving his touch with his what do you call it? Just his normal jump hook.
Yeah.
Off of 2 feet.
Well, Coach, can't wait to chat with you in Fresno, getting you ready for this one. It's Utah State, Fresno State games coming up on Thursday and Saturday this coming week. Big thanks to not only Coach, but Liam McChesney. And we'll be back with you next week right here at Old Chicago for another edition of the Coaches Show from Learfield IMG College.
Go Aggies!